how hard is it just to absorb a loss like this after going ahead by 20?
Next question, man. The season's over. That's what's hard. Being up 20. The season's over. You don't understand that. The season's over. It's hard. Stupid ass questions.
Last week, we got to watch what, in my opinion, felt like by far the game of the year. Denver versus Minnesota. So ironic because this game happened to fall on April Fools, and it was between two teams that actually has deep ties and deep history over these last 2 years. 2 years ago, Denver beat this young, premature team in quest for their first championship, and that was really no shocker. And then last year, Minnesota happened to get hot and beat this team in the second round in 7 games, and that most definitely was a shocker. Entering this one specific game on April 1st, if you go back to Game 6 of last year's playoffs, Minnesota was on a 5-game winning streak against Denver. Like I said, this happened to be the game of the year between both teams, and most definitely in my eyes, by the best player on the planet. I don't care that it went into overtime. This man recorded a 60, 10, and 10 game and happened to lose. Why did he happen to lose? Because of the most Russell Westbrook sequence you would ever watch. Now, this game symbolized something way bigger to me. If you happen to look at the minutes for Denver in that one game, look at their bench. It is literally little to no production from that bench. And Russell Westbrook played damn near 40 minutes and closed the game. Yes, I understand in that game, they were missing very significant pieces. But this right here is everything wrong with the 2025 Denver Nuggets. This is how the Denver Nuggets, with the best player on the planet, is now constructed. Extremely top heavy with literally no depth.
We realize that Joker's time is now, and if the opportunity presents itself to use those assets to really improve our team, we're going to do that.
Now, who exactly is this guy? This is the GM that got fired alongside Mike Malone, Calvin Booth. Reportedly, these two had so much ongoing tension that ownership said, well, let's just get rid of them both. Now, this guy right here is getting slammed, basically because in the midst of one of the greatest peaks we've ever seen, he decided to prioritize Denver's future and long-term goals and trust these young players with literally little to no experience. What makes it worse, and I guess I get it to some extent as a GM/salesman, is how he tried to sell Denver fans on these raw, inexperienced ass players versus the proven recipe veterans that we literally just seen win the championship. Christian Brown, he got significant minutes in the finals 2 years ago, so he's come along very well as a great rotational player alongside Jokic. Peyton Watson, I like him, and he's another great rotational player. But besides these two, it's a bunch of players that probably should be getting cooked by Bronny. If you happen to look at the Denver Nuggets bench this season, they quite literally have some of the worst production you'll see. Consequently, what exactly has this resulted in? One of the greatest carry job seasons we've ever seen, and that's no exaggeration. This is Jokic's career highs in minutes prior to this season. He never even played 35 minutes before, and this year he's flirting with 37. This year, Nikola Jokic is damn near averaging 20 shots a game. That's not what he's normally done. Jokic this year, he has a 56-point game and a 61-point game, and he happens to lose them both. These are the players that score 40 points or more at least 5 times this year. Nikola Jokic is second, and he's the only player with a losing record. This man is literally the best player breathing, so these stats make no sense. This has easily been one of the greatest, closest MVP races I've ever seen. Personally, I have no problem with Shea winning. With how dominant OKC's been, and individually him, I just have no problem. But let me contextualize how great and meaningful this man right here has actually been to Denver. I showed y'all this in my last video, kind of clowning Bradley Beal with that terrible, terrible contract. But again, look at this in the highest on-off court swings. This quite literally shows you how valuable this man is and how different the team looks when he sits. Shea scores a whole lot of points. We all know this by now. But look at where this man Jokic is compared to Shea as far as total points generated per game. It's actually insane. Bro, these are all the players with the highest plus minuses this season, and this is what their team's records look like. Jokic really shouldn't even be here. This man has damn near a plus 130 on his second highest teammate. That's not really normal. Now going back to this game and why these two teams meeting at this one time felt so relevant. This game extended Minnesota's win streak versus Denver to 6 straight wins. Also, this game was the first of Denver's current 4-game losing streak right now, the streak that might have gotten Mike Malone fired. The GM for the Minnesota Timberwolves is named Tim Connley. Tim Connley is actually the previous GM of the Denver Nuggets. Tim Connley is highly credited for building that team's championship core. Tim Connley, after building that Denver championship core basically from scratch, he went to Minnesota in 2022, the team that seems to be Denver's #1 rival now. And oddly, it damn near looks like Tim Connley constructed the perfect team in Minnesota to take down the perfect championship core he developed in Denver. Truly an extremely odd turn of events.
11 games to go, and that's the effort we put forth. You know, I'm embarrassed. It was a brutally honest message, and the guys that are full won't hear it. You know, they'll say coach is tripping. Joker shooting only 16 shots, Jamal only shooting, I gotta get those guys more field goal attempts. I gotta get those two guys 20, 25 shots a game. And that's no disrespect to anybody else, but I mean, we need those guys to carry the offensive load.
When you listen to Mike Malone talk, he actually sounds disgusted by his team's overall construction outside of his guys. Who exactly are his guys? Jokic, Murray, Aaron Gordon, and it sounds like he has a lot of love for Russ. Tim Connelly's the one that hired Mike Malone back in 2015, and it sounds like they had a pretty great relationship. Jokic or Murray, they've never played for a coach outside of Mike Malone, and he is their winningest coach in their franchise's history. But Tim Connelly, he's responsible specifically for that team's core 4, Jokic, Murray, Aaron Gordon, and MPJ. As great as he was, and as much credit as he gets deservingly so for building that team from scratch, he did make one move in 2021 that ultimately hurt the team's long-term future and the new GM, Calvin Booth's, job post him. Tim Connelly signed MPJ to this massive contract that's definitely hurt that team's long-term flexibility, especially after the new CBA. Yeah, it's cool to have a lanky, efficient, talented, kind of streaky scorer on your team when you have competent role players alongside him. But after losing those key championship role players mainly because of his contract, that put a lot of pressure on him to patch a lot of those role players' roles that he's simply not capable of patching. He's a very one-dimensional talent. Also, alongside the MPJ contract, Jamal Murray got a massive deal that I'm not quite sure if he's capable of living up to. Calvin Booth, he's the one that gave him this deal, and it is weird for me to shame him for this because, well, Jamal just got you a championship. But regardless, Jamal hasn't quite lived up to that contract, and that's put way too much pressure on Jokic. If you actually want to dive deeper as to why Denver's bench looks so bad, well, it's because of this. This core 4, this championship core 4 that won in 2023, they're taking up 80% of their cap. 80%. This is why directly after winning their championship, they couldn't really afford Bruce Brown, even though Mike Malone damn near begged this man.
I got guys like Bruce Brown. Come here, Bruce. Bruce. Hey, y'all tell me, is Brucey B going anywhere? Hell no. Hell no. Hell no. Hey, we running this shit back.
This is why KCP, after last year, he opted out of his current deal in Denver and went to a team that could actually give him the bag he wanted, Orlando. This is why Russell Westbrook in 2025 on a $3 million salary feels like one of their biggest pieces outside of their big 4. They couldn't really afford much. Now, Calvin Booth, he's made egregious mistakes, most notably making no moves or making unnecessary moves. When you have a player like Jokic, a one-in-a-lifetime player like Jokic in his prime, you simply have to maximize that or you're the wrong guy for the job. As old as Stephen Curry is, this is a one-in-a-lifetime type of player, so I understand them getting Jimmy Butler, and it's obviously working out. They haven't quite done that. Now, to be objectively fair to Calvin Booth, he did make certain moves that did contribute to their championship run 2 years ago. It wasn't just all Tim. He was the one that signed Bruce Brown, and we know he was huge for that team's championship run. He was the one that traded for KCP. He did draft Christian Brown, which I believe has been a hit. but right after that new CBA kicked in, trying to develop and keep that championship team afloat while simultaneously trying to stay under that second apron with those extremely harsh penalties, it just whooped their ass. Now, after losing your core championship role players, you have Calvin Booth trying to tap into his scouting bag, trying to emulate the recipe long-term and redraft the players that you had that won in 2023 with these young guys, and it simply failed bad. I do understand the logic to some extent, especially with this new CBA and this massive contract that's not providing the value that it should. But I don't care who you are. You can't waste prime years of one of the greatest peaks we've ever seen ever on G Leaguers' developments.
It's really difficult to determine our starting lineup, right? So we have 6 or 7 starters, and we have like we have a drop off after that. So
if you guys like this video, let me know in the comment section how exactly you feel about Denver's current situation. It feels like Jokic has no championship chance this year, and that sucks because the year he's having is insane. Turn on post notifications, do all that great stuff, guys, and until next time, as always, stay tuned.